As a JC student, one of my best friends is actually a cup of coffee, and it just so happens that Vietnam has a very rich history with the drink itself. So today, I'll be showing you how to make 3 of my favorite coffee drinks that originated from Vietnam. Now, this first drink is a classic combo and a super simple one to make. It's called Bạc Xỉu, or white coffee. All you need is double shot espresso and some condensed milk. So to begin with, we'll open up our can of condensed milk like so. This is actually 40 grams, as you can see here, but we actually only need about 30 grams of condensed milk. Of course, you can add more or less, depending on how much you like it, but I find 30 grams to be this happy medium for everyone. So now that you've added your condensed milk like so, as you can see, there's a really nice layer here, very even. We kind of want that look. Now we'll just add our espresso and we should be done. Okay, so I have my coffee machine here. If you have other methods of brewing coffee, it's perfectly fine. Just make sure you're not using instant coffee, because usually instant coffee has extra sugar and milk powder that can alter the taste of our drink here. The main sweetener we need is already in our condensed milk, and we only need our pure bitter coffee. So for this drink, I'm using this house blend. It's decaf, as you can see, because it has a green dot here. I'm not using caffeinated coffee, of course, because we're making 3 different drinks, and I'm not ready for a heart attack yet. So we're just gonna add our coffee. And so for my machine, there are 2 buttons, a single shot and a double shot. We're aiming for a double shot here, which is around 30 milliliters of coffee if you're not sure. So a trick I'm gonna teach you is to just maintain the 2 layers of condensed milk and coffee. We're gonna need to use a spoon to kind of disperse and soften up the flow of our coffee into our cup. It's all done. Okay, nice. And there you go. You have your own Bạc Xỉu. At this stage, you can add ice or even more condensed milk if you like it sweeter, but it's super cold here in Hanoi, so I'm just gonna keep it warm like this. So Bạc Xỉu is actually one of the drinks that I make the most often whenever I want a cup of coffee. Aside from it being extremely simple, it's still very delectable. Cream and sugar is actually a great pairing with coffee, and it's no coincidence. Coffee, like tea and wine, contains tannins. They are chemical compounds that create the bitter and sharp taste of coffee. Milk and other creamers contains proteins that can bind to tannins, covering their flavor. Caffeine in our coffee is another reason for the bitter taste. Caffeine bonds with the water molecules in plain coffee, distributing the bitter taste. But as sugar is added, those sugar crystals are bonded to the water molecules instead. In trying to avoid the sugar, caffeine will clump together, reducing the bitterness overall. So for our next 2 drinks, it will be a bit more complicated but still completely manageable. Starting off with Phê Trứng, or egg coffee, you'll need 3 egg yolks, double shot espresso, and of course some condensed milk. In terms of equipment, you'll also need an additional mixing bowl and a whisk. So to our mixing bowl, we'll be making our egg cream, which includes egg yolks as well as our condensed milk. But to start, we'll just crack our eggs, and before we immediately add in everything, we'll just try our best to retain the egg yolk inside the bowl, the shell like this, and let the egg whites run down. So what we're trying to do is just to kind of filter out the egg whites. And we'll just do so until you feel like there's no more egg whites to be extracted, basically. And then we'll just put this yolk aside, and we'll do the same for the other 3 yolks. So with our yolks separated from our whites, we're going to have to dispose these because we need this bowl for mixing. Of course, you can keep it to use it for other cooking purposes like making an omelet or a meringue, but I'm just gonna have to dispose this because I'm not gonna be using it anyways. So with our bowl nice and clean, we're gonna add back our yolks. If it breaks, like that one just did, it's perfectly fine. We're gonna have to mix them up anyways, so don't be scared about that. Now our next step, of course, is to add our condensed milk again. This is the 40-gram packet, and we're just gonna need 30 grams of it. And now for the most exhausting part of them all, whisking it. Now, of course, if you have a hand mixer, good for you, but I don't, so I'm gonna have to do it by hand. And if you don't even have a hand whisk like this, you can always use forks or even chopsticks, but I've never tried that before. So we're just gonna start whisking, trying to break the yolks first. As you can see, some of my yolks have already broken, so the job is already done. I'm just gonna start whisking it, and what we're trying to aim for is this creamy texture where everything is kind of incorporated, emulsified. Now that our egg cream is finished, we'll start with brewing our coffee. So to a cup, we'll just add it in, and again, take one of your espresso pods and put it into your coffee machine. Now this time, we don't need to do the spoon trick because there's nothing below, and we're just gonna add our egg cream on top. Okay, now that our coffee is brewed, our last step is to just add our cream on top, and it should be ready to enjoy. Here now, using our spoon, we're just gonna spoon in the cream on top. And there you go, your own egg coffee. Now, I know some of you are concerned about eating raw eggs in this drink, but the heat of the coffee will actually help cook off some of the bacteria that they might have, and still retaining this runny and creamy taste of the egg. Of course, afterwards you can add ice, but personally, I think café is best served hot. Personally, I think egg coffee is a nice way to try something new outside of your typical lattes and frappuccinos. It's still creamy and sweet from your condensed milk, but it has this added depth from your egg yolks. Egg yolks contain lecithin, which is an emulsifier. This means that they can bind fat and water to create a smooth texture. The fat in our yolks and condensed milk also plays a part. As we whisk our cream, the fats will help us trap the air, creating a lighter and fluffier texture. Now this last drink is my favorite to make, Muối or salt coffee. The first time I tried it, I was completely hooked. So today I want to show you how to make it. To do this, you'll need heavy cream, fresh milk, coffee, condensed milk, and salt. Now again, we'll start by making our cream into this mixing bowl. Into the mixing bowl, we'll add about 3 tablespoons of our heavy cream. And to kind of thin this out, we'll add around 3 tablespoons of milk as well. Finally, we'll add in our salt. Now, in my hand, this is sea salt, which is gonna be a bit more salty than your typical kosher salt. So we'll just add a pinch first, just to taste. And then if you want it to be saltier, we can add it in later. So now for the most tiring part, which is whisking it. Now our next step, of course, is to add our condensed milk again. Next, we'll also have to brew our coffee. Now that our coffee is brewed, we can come into our final steps of making our salt coffee. So for this drink, I actually prefer it cold, so we're gonna go grab some ice in the fridge. Finally, add in your salt cream. So there you go, your very own salt coffee. Now, at first this might seem like a bit of a weird combination, but scientifically, salt and coffee actually go quite well together. When drinking coffee, calcium ions travel to our brains to signal bitterness. With salt, our coffee also now has sodium ions. By binding to the salt receptors, this simultaneous trigger, along with the bitter taste receptors, will suppress the bitter flavors and enhance the pleasant ones. And with that, I've shown you how to make 3 of my favorite Vietnamese coffee drinks. Thank you for watching the first episode of Baking Soda. If you have any more suggestions of what I should make, or if you ever make one of these recipes, let me know. It's actually still very delicious. Cream and sugar.